All right, well, as usual, drawing the lines. We've got a really choppy market right now. For the last hour, everything has been up and down, up and down, up and down. And the problem is, well, I mean, obviously you can imagine that that makes it hard to trade any trend. But the bigger problem is that there's always a transition in front of you. So you start running into a situation where you, even though you can put a profile on and find a big, what looks like a big swing, you've got things like this where there's a transition in front of you every single time that you're trying to buy something. So even if it works out and it moves up with the VWAP, it still makes it very, very difficult to trade. So I don't know, we're in a range from 42 to 54, 12 points. And this is the first time in a while we've had a dip that made it through some of the prior points and didn't just hold. So I'm wondering if we're not going to roll over here and start moving lower. And there's really nothing that can be done on this until we come through. And you would think that it would be this, right? This is what a normal 5-minute bar trader would think was important. I'm not concerned about that low right there. I'm more concerned about this. This is where I see the volume. So we've got this one, we've got this one. This held up a little bit. That's where this big, all this volume that we punched through and then came right back up the other side. So I'm more focused on these points. So I'm going to draw a line here. Right, and that's what I want to see start to be broken before I'm willing to take anything to the sell side. Okay, well, we're actually coming up on the highs here. So what I want to do is grab a swing, and I just want to see what this looks like. It's got to be ugly because of the there aren't any. It's actually not as I thought it would be crisscrossing. The volume clusters are up here. They're not anywhere near the low, which is why everything's starting as high as it is. So this may actually give us a good opportunity if we break out of the top. I was thinking that we would have entries way down here, but ideally we want the CWAP to fall somewhere near the high, and the only way it's going to get there is if most of the clusters are up higher. Okay. Volume starting to print. Ah, look at that. So there's our breakout. It's not in a perfect place, but you know what? It's good enough. Look at this transition here. Let's go ahead and get our
order pending
buy order up. I think it's falling in the right place. I'm not thrilled about the fact that the bigger transition's up above, but I like that the stop is at least below all of this nonsense. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. God, I really thought this was going to fall over. Just goes to show you that your job is not to predict the market. If you do a blind prediction, you're generally going to be wrong. And if you look at it from the perspective of just trying to figure out where the market's trying to go and how good of a job it's doing getting there, end up a lot better off. I'm going to move that down a tick, just trying to stay a tick in front of the... And here we go. Looks like we're going to get picked up or pretty close to it. Move up one. 53.
order filled.
Okay, we're filled on the 53. Gonna get the stop up, and let's get our risk to reward stuff cooking. All right, so we have the entry, the stop, 2 to 1 is up there. Now we need 3 to 1. And 5 to 1. All right. So that process ought to be, by now you ought to be really used to that, and it seems like a lot to mess with, to have to change it and
Stop
open.
filled.
Well, that didn't go anywhere. Okay. Well, what I was going to say is that I know it seems like a lot that every time you put on a trade, you manually go through and figure out where all these levels are. Obviously, all of that is automated with AlgoX, but I really believe that it's important that you do those steps. You do it manually first. You realize what the reason why you're looking for these multiple returns and how sometimes you need to move those targets around. And so I really think it's worth doing the manual work yourself. And after you've taken 20, 25 trades, it ought to just be very, very natural for you to click on this and click on that and just get the job done. But that's unfortunate. That one didn't work out for us. We're now trading through the VWAP, and we're coming down to the initial target here. So maybe I was right the first time when I said I thought the market was moving down. But again, I don't really need to predict the direction of the market. I just need to try and figure out where it's trying to go. And right now it's trying to go right here. So when we get here, that's when I can make a decision. And until then, there's nothing I can do about it. So we're just going to take it easy. Okay, we're starting to break through, starting to get through some of these key transitions. Now, obviously this worked up here, but it just didn't make sense from the risk perspective. So I'd rather see all this stuff taken out. Let's get some volume printing down here and see if we can't get the trade entry to hit somewhere around this area. And if we can do that and trade it down to the next level, I'll be much happier. Okay, definitely trading through now. I like the way this is coming together. Again, we want to see the entry of this fall a little bit more in line with where we're seeing the overall transitions in the market. I think these three clusters all together really tell that story. That's about where we want to be, somewhere around 48 quarter. I'm going to go ahead and get the order out there.
Order pending.
And we can always cancel it if it I think it's sitting a little bit high right now. Okay, 48.50, that looks a little better. I'm going to pull the chart back a little bit so we don't keep going off frame. Our objective is to take advantage of this gap here. And obviously we'd love for it to trade through, but there's no reason to be greedy about it. Right? So if we get our risk to reward up, and let's say we're in here and we're Our stop is there. 2 to 1 is here. 3 to 1 is going to fall somewhere right around this. Let's just check it real quick because I'd like to be inside of that for the next. There we go. Look at that. So somewhere around the 43. I think that's going to be great for a good reasonable target. Okay, I'm going to move it down a little bit. Oop, back up. I'm juggling here. Down again. It keeps moving on us, but again, that's AlgoX makes that a little bit easier to always sort of have it auto adjusting the order for you.
Filled.
So we got filled and tick off of where we needed to be there, but stops in the right place. So that means that we ought to be right on the money with our. Let's go back to 2 to 1. Our first one in. $43.25 is going to be our 3 to 1 and 5 to 1. Coming in $39.75. All right, we're all set. Nothing to do but keep track of our stops, and if we can get through and create new lows, this will be a great transition to look at moving a stop onto as well. Okay, a couple of moves into the CWAP, so we got it here, also came back in. Now it looks like we're finally pushing over. A couple of ticks down to 45.
Target filled.
All right, so we get the 2 to 1 target. Now, a lot of people ask me if it's okay to take the second or third or fourth or multiple shots at the CWAP. Obviously, this wasn't the first one. I mean, it was up here, but there wasn't a reason to take the trade, right? So this was the first logical place to take it based on the structure of the chart. Obviously, this worked too, so you certainly could have. My argument for why I wouldn't want to do that is because after making the low that put us into the trade, we then came down and made a higher low. So we were holding this transition here, right? Exactly to it. And then we came back up. So this could have been a large transition where the market started moving higher. Now we've made a lower low. So I would argue that if we came back up and touched it again, yeah, you could add to your position, or you could take it for the first time if you missed it back here. But I would have avoided this one. I think this would have been, the structure of the chart would have said, not the smartest move for you to make. Okay, good stop move here. A couple of ticks down. Okay, so I want you to look at where the CWAP falls. Right here is the transition pushing. That created this rollover to push back down. So we were just talking about the idea that could you could you take another touch of the CWAP? Could you add to a position? Could you? And I think here is a case where it lines up pretty much perfectly. If we put a profile there, for coming in and retouching and making a series of lower highs, I think you could absolutely take this trade again. Tell you what, the more I look at this, the more I like it. I'm going to
Order pending.
add to the position at 47.
Order filled.
There is the add. So my stop is behind the VWAP. First target is going to be down at 43 from that add. So let's do the risk to reward on it because I'm going to have some extra. So that should have been 47 to 49, which gives us the 43 for the first one. Three to 1. 41. That's going to be the 3 to 1 for the next piece of it. And then the last one at 5 to 1 for the new trade. It's going to be, I'm trying to think, that would have been 39. So we're going to go 37. And so now we've got two trades off of the same CWAP VWAP. And our stop comes in. Look at that. Breaking down quickly on it. Hit the 43 quarter.
Target
There we
filled.
go. All right, so that's the 3 to 1 on the first position. Remember, we're trying to line that up with what's going on over here. So that's why I didn't move the 2 to 1 for the second position at all. And then this is going to come down.
Target filled.
We actually traded down through the 2 to 1 for the add. And that's great. The market's moving really, really slow. So I'm sure you will see it as a time warp where everything moves very fast after editing, but excruciating. All right, so the stops now are both at the average entry fill. So not only have we put money in the bank, but there's nothing at risk. Objectively,
Target filled.
We really don't. And there goes our 3 to 1. We're about to hit the 3 to 1 for. Actually, that's probably the 5 to 1 for the first part of the trade. Let's see what we've got left. Yep, just 5 to 1s are left. And objectively, we really don't want to have our stop up this high. It just we're now 7.5 points away. We have all of this structure right here where
Target
we just
filled.
got hung up and hung up and hung up. So what I want to do is just grab that, put a profile across all of it, all that volume, and you can see where it's falling. And we'll just move the stop. We're going to immediately jump it there. And now we'll take some steps. So we're running all of this off of this gigantic profile from up above. But the real question is, how can we improve this? So if we come over to the most recent high there, That brings our stop down a little bit. Kind of puts it in the danger zone, I think. So I think we'll just leave it where it is for the moment. But if we can get something that looks like a key transition here, we're going to go ahead and move it down. And if you're ever in this situation and you're thinking, well, God, this has already gone a long way. Do I even need to risk it at all? Best thing to look for is a couple of periods that are overlapping. So clusters that are overlapping. So here we have 2, right? So let's grab a little decision point profile and just put it on these 2. When in doubt, that is going to be the best way, because this represents a challenge between the buyer and seller. This is the seller trying to push down. The reason the cluster is at the bottom is because buyers were trying to prop it up. Then it rotates. There's a struggle, which is why the cluster appears. There's buyers and sellers, lots of volume, the bulk of volume, all in the same place. And so bringing your stop down behind that is going to be the next best thing. If we can't make a different profile work where we see a better, in this case, a better VWAP to use, we'll just go ahead and take this back to where it was. We certainly don't want to be all the way up here. Running the profile from here wasn't helping, so let's just move it down. And that way we're really protecting a lot of this position. Down at 38, that's back up to 41.75. That's given us a good spread. All right, hitting the last target there, not filling but hitting it.
Target filled.
And that'll do it. So that's a great, just a phenomenal trade. Think about all the pieces that went into it. That started with us getting stopped out on a long, right? First we were trying to buy out of the top with the CWAP. That didn't work. We waited for it to fall over. This is the first place it crossed over here, but it wasn't good enough for us. And so you have to think, well, did I miss something important? Well, we didn't get it until here, but then we got it here and we took it again here. And look at where the market's fallen off to. So think that through when you're going through all of your levels, all the things that have to come together. Don't jump the gun to get it here. The long trade, I would have taken that again. Sometimes they're not going to work. There wasn't anything wrong with that one. It just didn't come together. But these are the type of things that you can avoid, because while it looks good here, that very easily could have gotten jammed up, being right at that transition of clusters there. Could have gone the other way. So wait for them to come together. So huge double trade example, I guess triple if you count the stop out, triple trade example.